All right, thanks so much for staying with us. Let's get a right of reply now. Last month, we spoke to the Socio-Economic Rights Institute following the Western Cape High Court order for the provision of alternative accommodation to more than 100 people soon to be evicted from public spaces in Cape Town's inner city. SERI was representing that particular group, and the court saying that the group should be provided with alternative shelter in one of the city's shelters, and the city saying that evictions were the last resort. Let's now speak to Councillor Patricia Van Der Ross, MMC for Community Services and Health. Thank you so much for your time, MMC. How complex, as we begin, for example, is the issue around, the evictions? I mean, the city has to keep the streets clean, for example, but at the same time, you do have people on the streets who are there in other instances through no fault of their own.
Good evening. Thank you for the invitation. Yes, there has been an issue with rough sleepers in the city of Cape Town, and the one thing that the city of Cape Town is trying to do through our community arts and culture development department is to make sure that we are engaging with all effective rough sleepers, to assist them for those who are willing to relocate in our respective safe spaces. And based on the responses that the city has received, we need to make sure that we have adequate space. And I am proud to say that with the almost completion of our Ebenezer safe space, and it's progressing very well, we had a site visit last week, we are able to assist the respective rough sleepers in our city centre.
So let's talk about, since the ruling then took place, have you been able, I know you're still saying that you are still preparing, so you haven't moved anyone to some of those alternative spaces, or have you started moving them?
No, we haven't moved anyone as yet. Remember, the order is starting on the 31st of July or the 30th of July. But in the interim, we are engaging with those that want to move, and subsequently we have moved some to our Safe Space 1 and to our Safe Space 2 areas.
And let's then talk about, this particular issue, because when you look at the reaction of the mayor, for example, following the ruling, he was saying that it's going to help now be able to, help the city to be able then to ensure that everybody has accommodation and everyone, in fact, is then accounted for, but at the same time to keep the city clean. But then you speak to an organization like SERI, for example, which says that the shelter rules need to be a bit more humane, and the city, of course, conceding that some of the conditions need to be changed. For example, they speak about the fact that when someone relocates to one of these particular areas, you need to stay in a shelter for about 3 to 6 months. After then, you're forced out. You also, in some instances, leave at 8 a.m. and you can only return around 6 p.m. and should you come after 8 p.m., you are then locked out. In some instances, when you're sick, you can't stay on during the day. You have to go outside, possibly sleep, in the parks, for example. So what then happens to these particular rules in order to make sure that these safer spaces you are providing are also speaking to some of these concerns?
I think it's important that I clarify a few things. Number one, you are not compelled to leave the safe space at 8 o'clock in the morning. There are some of our individuals that lives in the safe spaces that choose to move at 8 o'clock in the morning. And if you, by chance, feel unwell, or you feel that you cannot go out the day, or you feel that you're sick, there's no way that any of our people are going to put you out. It's inhumane, and that's one thing that we don't do. What we also do is, during the rainy season, especially during this winter season, we try and keep people safe from the rain throughout the day and at night. And if there's, for some reason, that you do come back to the safe space at night, for example, if you have a work opportunity, we cannot decline you from coming back. You need to be able to let the people at the safe space know, listen, I've got a job, I am working until 7 o'clock, I will only be able to reach back at 8 o'clock. But it all comes down to communication, and just like we invest in our respective communities, our street people community, we want them to also have the confidence and trust in us and say, listen, I'm going out, I'm going to look for employment, but please, I'm coming back a bit late tonight, and you are not compelled, like I said, to just leave at 8 o'clock. Yes, there are rules set in place. Yes, we ask everybody to, obviously, we try and build confidence in people to be able to go out and look for employment, but that it doesn't go with us saying that we're just putting you out. That is just a myth, I think, and sometimes we really need to just ask the questions to the people and ask them, listen, why is it that you need to leave at 8 o'clock? Or if they can't leave at 8 o'clock, tell them, okay, what's the reason that you need to stay? And then we accommodate you.
So does it then also apply to the fact that they also raised another concern, saying that people can't stay, for example, if you have a partner and you're moving into these safe spaces, you can't stay with your partner, you have to be separated because there are no family units?
Until recently, we only have space at our Safe Space 1 for couples. As a city of Cape Town, you do know that we deal with 18 years and older. The provincial government deals with younger kids. But what I can say is that one of our shelter spaces, one of our NGOs, they're busy with the upgrade on their end as well, to make sure that they accommodate, that they can accommodate families as well. So we've got space for couples at our Safe Space 1, but alternatively, we will have one of our safe spaces in the Cape Town area that will be able to accommodate families.
MMC, sounds like quite a lot of work awaits you there, but thank you so much for giving us your update as well as your right of reply. It's actually, just a little bit heartwarming to hear that, in some of these instances, people just need to communicate. So thank you so much for your time this evening. That was Councillor Patricia Van Der Ross, MMC for Community Services and Health.